Good morning, everyone. We have two guests today. Mindy McDonald, who is with the library system, and she's a guest of Nate. And then we have our guest speaker, Professor Ryan from York College, and we're looking forward to a very exciting presentation from him. And I had the 50-50 too, so I'll start. Let Mindy do all this. Librarians have always wanted us to. The pot's $24 today. The last three numbers are 7, 0, 3.
Hey, Sarah. Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Happy dollars. We are moving right along. Victoria. Meet you halfway.
$10.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna go to the podium.
Oh.
I promise this won't take long. We have some really great news. Connie Spark just returned from Canada. She was at a Celebrating Peace Through Action meeting with many, many people from different zones. And I'm sharing with you an extra special celebration. Rotary Zones 28 and 32 Better Together Summit in Winnipeg. Now, Rotary District 7390 was proud to announce that Connie, District 7390, past district governor and member of York East Rotary, had been selected as a recipient of the Donald McRae Peace Award. This award honors individuals who have advanced international understanding, goodwill, and peace through peacemaking efforts or humanitarian activity of international significance. Please understand, Connie has led 25 international missions and 20 special projects in about 26 years. This is amazing. Phew, okay, the award is named for Halifax Rotarian Donald McRae, who at the Rotary International Convention in 1918 boldly proposed that Rotary become an agent for promoting goodwill and peace among nations. And that was the very first time Rotary's international vision was publicly expressed. Please join us. This is from the meeting that day. This was published. Please join us in congratulating past District Governor Connie for carrying forward the legacy of peace building and service above self. Her work reminds us that when we live Rotary's values, we create a more hopeful, united world. We're so fortunate to have her inspirational leadership in our district. And I am adding, we're very happy to have Connie as a member of York East Rotary. Congratulations, Connie.
Thank you for sharing that, Victoria. Congratulations, Bonnie. Work well done. Anybody else have a happy dollar? Karen.
So I just wanted to say, as we all know, it was a tough week and a tough year for law enforcement. I went to a fundraiser last week, Thursday night at the Hawks Club, and I was very surprised and happy to see, as I went through the silent auction items, that Jinju had contributed quite a few items for the officers. So hats off to Jinju.
I agree. Who else? Any other happy dollars? Andy.
My $50 budget last week. So I just have one because I'm really happy about this new name tag. It's cool. It has like my whole name and my nickname. I love it. So thank you. I'm happy.
That is quite the happy dollar. Any other happy dollars? All right, well, I have two happy dollars that are actually going to lead us into the trivia. So I have two happy dollars because my husband and I had a great time in Disney last week. I think you can honestly just say we're really big kids. So we did ride all the rides, we did eat all the good things. We went for the Food and Wine Festival and made sure we partaked of that. So today's trivia is Disney World trivia. So Disney employs 75,000 people. That's an immense amount of people. There are 7 original rides that are still in operation. They are the Pirates of the Caribbean, It's a Small World, Jungle Cruise, the Carousel of Progress, Peter Pan's Flight, Dumbo, and the Haunted Mansion. We did all of those for the exception of 2, and you can guess which 2 they were. The newest rides are Tron, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which replaced Splash Mountain, and the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which replaced 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And that's it for my Disney trivia. Announcements. Anybody have announcements? Tim?
We have a little over 3 weeks to the Pints for Polio event on October 23rd. Ticket sales are a little slow. Thank you for today for various people who purchased some tickets. You can purchase them online. There's a flyer on your table there that has a QR code. Someone said they couldn't get the QR code to work, Nate. Maybe you could test that. And you just did it? Oh, it must be user error. Sorry, Jim. Oh, he has an iPhone. Okay. We have 25 major auction items valued over $250 each. So we could still use a few more major items. The smaller items under $250, we have about 8 or 10, but there's still a lot pending there. So I think we could always use a few more gift cards and things like that to package up if you have any. Good news on the speaker for the evening. Deb Kleindens has sourced out a friend of hers, her mother had polio. So it's going to be a very personal story, and I look forward to hearing that there. So thank you very much.
Okay, any other announcements? All right, I know today is our day to help out at our Daily Bread Soup Kitchen. I know Jim has enough of help, so thank you to those who have volunteered. And Saturday, we will do some tree planting at Native Lands Park. And again, thank you for those who volunteered. We have good help. Let's see. I've announced about the tree planting that's supposed to be done in the 72 municipalities in York County. That was originally scheduled for later in October. It has been postponed, so the new date is going to fall in April of 2026. And let's see, Rotary Leadership Institute is also this Saturday. We have new member orientation next Tuesday morning after our meeting. So if you are a new member and you can join us, please let Deb Kleindens know. All right. And I think we're ready for our speaker. Bill?
Okay. Got it. You take your, look at all that money you got there. Good morning. Before I introduce our speaker, how many in the room have a connection with your college, either because they went there, they have a kid went there, or otherwise employed there? Raise your hand. Bingo. All right, so congratulations to you folks who have these York College connections. I am appreciating by speaking to our members and talking and finding guests. I went to York College and so forth. So York College is a big influence in our club and in the community. Oftentimes, we'll have speakers who, a couple months ago, somebody from York, from the York County, said he was from Lehigh Valley, went to York College, settled into the York community, and now apparently, as far as I can tell, has a pretty important position with the county. So go York College, which brings me to today's speaker. Our speaker today is Fryar. He is an assistant professor of art at York College, where he has taught painting and drawing since 2005. So we got a 20-year anniversary here. And he is classically trained with his recent work blending traditional methods with generative AI. Traditional methods, generative AI. Pretty intriguing. So, and this, he developed this in spring of 2024 when he was on sabbatical in Idaho. He teaches generative AI for creatives in York College's new Bachelor of Arts in Digital Art and AI program. The course introduces students to prompt design. Prompt does not mean quick. It means something else that Rye will explain to you. He explained to me. Most of you already know it, but so anyway, we're talking about prompt design, AI ethics, and creative workflows that combine human intention with machine learning. Professor Fryar studied biology and fine arts at Eastern Oregon University and holds an MFA from the University of Minnesota. His work is regularly exhibited across the country. So for all of you folks who have no idea what AI is, or as my 96-year-old mother-in-law calls it, A1, she's not here today, right? So don't worry about that. Professor Fryar. There you go. Kyle's daughter is my student of Professor Fryar, and I read a little interaction between them on the email. Nate's daughter is very good. So, proud dad.
Thank you. Can you hear me? All right. I'm not much of a presenter. I'm a hands-on person. I teach people how to make art. And my credentials are a little varied. I was speaking to somebody right before we started, and I would have to say that I'm really a jack of all trades. I do a lot of things. I started out as a biologist and worked as a biologist for a few years. And then got my degree in art and then went that direction. Every single test I took when I was a kid said, go be a scientist, because clearly that's where your proclivities lay. And so I ignored that entirely and became an artist. And one of the things that I have found out that has been absolutely true for me is that that unusual background really matters in a creative field. Okay, so if I make a traditional painting, then I come in direct competition with John Singer Sargent, my favorite painter of all time, who died 120 years ago. It's the best of every generation and tradition that you end up competing with, because that stuff can still be printed. So this is my splash page, but let's look at my website really quick. Can you jump over to that? There we go. Yeah. I think we got to exit out of the PowerPoint. There we go. Just pull up some random paintings if you like. So, so what I did when I started out as a young artist is I stole liberally from the sciences. And John Singer Sargent couldn't do that. Creativity is in many ways the mashing together of new things. And so because there weren't many people with that background in the sciences, I was able to do that pretty liberally. I was really interested in water rights and mapping and species diversification. And so you can see that in some of my paintings at least. Now these are later on, and I'm actually kind of going through a more traditional phase in these parts. But for 20 years I've been here, and I have like worked on my abilities as a traditional painter. Now, having said that, like I said, I'm a jack of all trades, and I'm in no way against technology. In fact, I love it. I use it all the time. I use it in every aspect. So, that's just a few of my pieces, and you can certainly go and check out my website. I haven't updated it in a few years, and I'll explain why in a few moments. But let's jump back to the slides. Maybe I want to just pull it up on the. I'm sure we'll get to it in a second, but I am a part of my credentials are that I'm a big science fiction nerd, and I was at a young age. So my dad had a tall bookcase filled with really cool books by Heinlein and Clark and all of those kind of things. And so when I was a kid, I learned from those books as much as anything, and that kind of ruined me for life. And I kept pursuing it, and one of the more important components of my early adulthood was actually just reading science fiction in the early 90s. So there was an author that came along, and it's on the second slide right there. And his name is Werner Vinge, and he was a physicist in San Diego and a professor there, but he was also a really good science fiction author. And he wrote a book about artificial intelligence. In fact, he was very predictive about a lot of it. A lot of the people now who are in charge of big companies and are using AI and building AI, they would know this book. He came up with the term singularity. Have you heard that? It's where AI gets so smart that it bootstraps itself up to the next stage. I often talk about it like, my math skills are not super great because, well, I used a calculator. If I could plug in math into my brain, would I do that? Would I plug in that ability? And the answer is, oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And if you were an AI, you might do that too. And if you kept doing that, you would get so smart that it gets scary really fast. That's the singularity. And so I have been watching for this moment for years and years and years. I had a wake-up moment when ChatGPT 3.5 came, because I was playing with 3.0 and I thought, yeah, it's a fun tool, toy. That's the way I thought of it. And then 3.5 came along, and it was this absolutely shocking leap. It wasn't an incremental movement from something that was good and now was better. This was a phase change. In the sciences, that's when water turns to ice or it turns to steam. It's a phase change, and you know it's going to happen, but you don't know exactly when. It happens like that. Or when sand piles up or something like that, you know that it's going to fall down at some point, little particles of sand, and you can predict that it's going to happen. It's part of chaos theory, but you don't know when, and it will fall down and go into that distinguished ripple look that you see on sand dunes everywhere. And it suddenly happens, and that's what happened then. And I immediately thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I don't think this is that singularity word, but I think that we are now on that curve, and it can potentially be a scary curve. It's an exponential curve. It's one that suddenly goes right towards the moon. So let's see. So when I was a kid, I invented a superhero. Now you would think that my proclivities would make me read a lot of comic books, but it did not. So I was not particularly creative. And my superhero, this is how I thought of myself. I remember building a superhero costume that I wanted my parents to put on me for Halloween. And it included drywall stilts. Have you ever said, so I could like touch the ceiling wearing them. And it also included a whip because then I could grab stuff and pull it to me. It extended my reach, it extended my height. And I mean, it was Indiana Jones in 1981. So that I forgot to wear the fedora today, but I definitely would have had it back then. So this is what AI feels like. AI extends your reach. It allows you to grab things farther than you ever could before. I'm not a graphic designer. No, I'm a graphic designer now. Like, I know the rules, never practiced it. And so I can take my creativity and my ability to manipulate images and point them at tools that let me directly interface with those graphic design tools that have always frustrated me because I didn't care enough or I didn't want to do it, whatever. It allows me to reach out with that whip and grab and pull to me and do bigger things. Have you guys ever used a whip? They're horribly hard. You can't pull things to yourself. That doesn't happen. Like, do you remember in Indiana Jones how he kind of whipped and cut himself right there on the chin? Yeah, that almost happened to me. So are you guys worried about AI? Yeah. There's my slide. Me too, right? Hey, you know what? Like, here's my opinion after using it as extensively as I can, as a guy who reads science articles all the time, tries to stay on the top of it. AI is a bubble, for sure. It's gonna pop any moment, it's gonna hurt. And it's underhyped. It's gonna do all the things it can say it can do. It's gonna be crazy. The next few years is gonna be one heck of a ride. I taught a class, mentioned it, that Nate's daughter took a class from me. I had to revise the syllabus every 2 weeks, not a little, all the way from the top to the bottom, because the tools changed in 2 or 3 weeks that significantly. And that's the roller coaster we're on. And hey, there's lots of reasons to be worried. No, namely, it's that singularity. That's the scariest possibility, because if suddenly like an AI god, lower G, arises from California, what's it want? Like, nobody really knows. We want to try to align it. That's called alignment with human ideas. And that's a really important thing. I'm optimistic, and I think that AI is going to want to help us out and be a part of our civil society. But it could just want to make a lot of paper clips, you know? It could do whatever it wants. So I was also worried as an instructor, because hey, it's most of my job is I teach people. I was worried that it was going to raise all of us into those areas, like me as a graphic designer, which I'm not, but it would raise us all to moderately good level. And that's it. The bad people would get moderately good. The good people would get moderately good. And then there's no way to discern between our work. And I was also worried that it would just simply take out human creativity. When it first got here, I was like, oh, cool, you know, AI is going to come along. It's going to go into the sciences. Creatives aren't going to have to worry about it. No, it went right for our throats. It went right into creativity immediately. And it looked like the kind of tool that might stop us from doing anything. We just go to AI for creative efforts. And let's see, students might, oh, and as an educator, you know, I care about students, right? And I was worried that students might overtrust AI. They'll use it too much and they won't gain thinking skills. So I don't know if you know this, but the process of thinking is also the process of writing. And it's also the process of reading and thinking critically. Like, you don't get smarter if you can't do that. You just kind of stay averagely dumb, and you must not skip those skills. Okay, and so see the part where it says still am, if I'm honest, I'm still worried about that part. I really definitely am. There are some things we're going to have to do to change the world in order to educate the new generations so that they don't use AI too much too early. It's scary. There's ethical worries, copyright, data sourcing, there's bias. Hey, I thought it would be just some machine-like perfect tool. It's a really imperfect tool. And that gives me some hope. It means that there's wiggle room for me to make it better. And there's room too, that we're not on that exponential curve towards perfection. We got some time, at the very least, we have some time. And so all of that, I thought, well, maybe it's actually going to be competition for somebody like me who teaches. It's going to make it harder to teach in the classroom. So, and we'll get to some of my concerns. Some of those I have addressed because now I've taught some AI courses on how to use it and how to be creative with it. Some of those things I'm still worried about. We're still figuring that stuff out. So how does AI and AI images, okay, read the first part right at the top. Well, I don't really know. Actually, I kind of do. I did try to dive into it, and it is complicated enough that we can't talk it through real easy. It's a value system of weights for images. That's one component of it. It's also a linking system, a kind of autocomplete for images in its own way. It's a confluence of a lot of things. But you know what kind of the scary thing is that when you get an executive from Google coming up and giving a presentation like I am, if you don't see that part, well, I'm not totally sure, then they're lying. Because nobody actually knows why it had that phase change. We don't quite understand it. I think it's just because we reached a level of complexity that bred its own complexity. And that's very difficult to understand. Have you guys ever watched a flock of those? When I first came to Pennsylvania, is it starlings that do those flocking paths? I used to drive on my family trip down to the coast around the fall, and my wife would say, keep your eye on the road, because they were in these great, huge masses that moved and flowed. It was absolutely beautiful. None of those birds planned any of that stuff. It's an emergent behavior. That's what happened with AI. And that's how AI works, it's an emergent behavior. Now, we can talk about what that is, and we can start to understand it, and there are good efforts, and we understand the components, but it's very complex, and that second level emergence is really hard to talk about. I'll let you read through that. These slides are going to be available if you want to read through some of this a little bit later. But this gives you a little bit of an idea of how a machine sees. It weights certain categories and subcategories within a thing, and then it identifies the objects in this way that is absolutely nothing like the way that we see. And so when you use an image generator, or even when you use the chat GPT, an LLM, a large language model, and it completes things in really hard to predict ways, part of that is because the thought process behind it has nothing to do with the way that we see or think or process. It's just a replication and a simulacrum of that, a pretense. Now, it does a lot of things really good, and in some ways it matches the way that we think exactly. In some ways it really doesn't. It's an alien entity in its own right. Okay, so computers, they don't see like we do. They really are parsing the numbers, despite the fact that it looks like they're having a real visual engagement with a thing with the still life in front of it, but that ain't happening. You got to remember that when you encounter the weirdness of AI, it's because it is coming from a totally tangential direction. It's merely emulating the way that we see. Some artists, historians think this is so fundamentally different that they don't even want to call these images. They want to come up with a new term for it. My colleague, Dr. Jessica Sponsler, who kind of helped me put together some of the slide aspects of this, that's her contention at the moment right now. There are ethical issues that are coming into the fray right now. When I have a website. Did you guys see my website? It's really, really very nice. And I haven't updated it for 3 years because 3 years or so ago, AI came through and raked it all up and used it to learn how to make art. I didn't get paid for the 35 years of steady labor it took me to learn how to draw something. I didn't. I'm going to join that class action lawsuit when it comes through. It was illegal in my experience. And that's what I think, because, and then I'm going to take that triumph because we'll win. We will. I'll take that $1.47 and I'll buy half a bag. Yeah. So the point that I'm trying to make is I am ultimately a realist. We all need to be a realist about this. AI isn't going anywhere. We need to contend with the truth of it. It's too good at what it does for it to go away. It's too good at what it does for us all to become Amish. It just, like the Luddite approach to this isn't going to work. It's going to change. I'm talking about my field, but I pay attention to engineering fields. I got two brothers who are engineers. I got another brother who is in business, he's in supply chain management. He can't ignore this. None of us can. Artists' work, using it without our permission, that's a problem. I just think that horse left the barn. And I don't think that there will be recompense. I don't think that's ever going to get addressed. Question of ownership, like who owns these images? If I make an image, is it me that owns it or is it OpenAI? Bias, stereotypes, all of those things are embedded in the algorithm. Because here's the secret. It raked up my website and it raked up all the internet and it raked up Reddit. Do you know what Reddit is? Oh, it's a morass of awesome information with horrific idiot opinions about everything under the sun. And so it's the average of the internet, right? And some of that average, especially in the weird corners, is going to get real weird. And you'll see that on the output. There's been plenty of problematic images that have been arising from that, or stories or chatbots. The job market's going to change. It's going to change thoroughly, and I can't predict that. Almost nobody can. I have some thoughts. I have some thoughts about the direction that it goes, and I'll try to hit those, but I'm going to save some time for discussion here at the end if you have any questions about where I think this might be heading for the job market. There are environmental impacts. So I'm just going to fess right up. I'm a nuclear power fanboy. I love it. I think it's so cool. I think that stuff is one of the safest kinds of power, and we've been held back for a long time on that. I get to proselytize a little bit because you can't go anywhere, but no, like it's way safer than coal. It's way safer than so many options. Oh, I love the idea of solar powered whatever and wind farms and things like that, but we don't have good batteries. You have to have that. Nuclear power is really good at that thing. And this is the impetus for that. Now, environmental impacts, we're still going to have to contend with building that infrastructure up. This is expensive for power. So that's a problem in its own right. Generative AI, law and ethics in motion. This is a boring slide, and it's just really important for what I do. This is, I call this the Wild West, because right now the rules are real shady and you can't really tell exactly. There has been some governmental indications of how they're going to do it. You can take an AI image and it is not your image and it is not your art and it's not copyrightable unless you alter it a whole bunch. I don't even freaking know what that means. Like, what is a whole bunch? Is there a percentage? How do we evaluate that exactly? That's going to be real difficult. And what about images that look like they've obviously been stolen from somebody like my website, right? A style, make a painting of dogs running through the forest in the style of Fryar. Who did that, right? It's unclear. There's issues too. This is a prompt, right? Create an image of someone cooking in a typical American kitchen. Now, I'm not an art historian, and my colleague Jessica, whom I mentioned, is really good at this. There are issues with this image. If this is the so-called average, right? The issue, for one, why is it a woman cooking? Right? Why isn't it a man? What about the class of this woman? What would you say? Would you say that she is middle class? Ish? Yeah, probably. Why is she wearing Birkenstocks? Who is it that makes the decisions about what is average in America? And doesn't that point us all towards an idea that you have to be this way to be normal? That's problematic, And so, there's other things like all right, she's middle class, but man, I recognize that stove, and that's like a $20,000 stove, right? Like, how did that sneak in there? Is that advertising? Because it really might be advertising, or at least it's Reddit. So, and the problem too is that if you put your thumb on the scale, if you take a large language model and you say, well, sometimes put a man in there cooking. Don't make her wear Birkenstocks. That indicates kind of almost a political allegiance or something. It doesn't, not really, but I'm from Oregon and everybody wears Birkenstocks there, right? So if you put your thumb on the scale and you tell large language model to do that, then it breaks. You can't just like simply nudge it. You must like smash it down and hold it in place. And that hurts the tool. It gets you nonsense. You've had Rob online spouting Nazi propaganda because somebody did this and it broke it temporarily. And like I said, Wild West, right? We're going to have to tolerate some stuff that's weird right now. This is the rough and early stages. Most of you look like you're at least my age, right? And were you there? Were you here for the birth of the internet? I was. It was Wild West then too. And the people who got on board and figured things out got rich. And the people who noticed it, they really, really maximized a lot of things about the world, changed the world in significant ways. When I was a kid, I don't remember the birth of the internet. I wish I did. I was a little bit too young to take any advantage of that. But oh my gosh, we bought a microwave. It was the first microwave. We spent a significant portion of our cash on a microwave. It changed my whole life because now I could cook. Now I could make stuff. It was mostly like cheese sandwiches and it was awful. But I could make stuff on my own when I was a real young kid. There are significant moments for me, microwave, internet, different kinds of steps that we take. And this is one of those phase changes. It's going to, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough like the beginning of the internet, and the microwave doesn't have all the options yet. So here's how I use AI in my art. The bottom, it's all about the speed, baby. All about the speed. I'm a very practiced artist. I would say that as far as painting goes, I'm a pretty good painter, solid. And as far as drawing goes, well, that lines right up with the scientific elements within myself, because that is a scientific process, believe it or not. That's measurement, that's replication, that's translation. And so I can draw, right? I can draw really good, but I can't increase the speed at which I draw. And that drawing process is really necessary for building my work. Here's an example of how it was sped along my life. This is an illustration for my painting class. I'm telling them how to make origami paper. I want them to hand make origami paper, choose their own colors from both sides, paint it on both sides. But the problem is if you do that and then you stick it to the wall, it's going to stick like glue. And then I am going to spend time with a scraper in my class, right? And so I need to explain online how to do this in a really easy way for them to get. And I know how to get there all on my own. It's my drawing skills, right? This is my drawing tablet. I carry it around me because it makes me feel good to hold on to it. I use it all of the time, right? I have a stack of analog sketchbooks that high, but I immediately bought the iPad with a pencil as soon as I could draw with it, and as soon as it made sense because I love the tool. Well, if I had to sit down and draw this, then this would take me, I don't know, an hour, this side. And that's easily within my drawing ability. It's not the drawing so much as the color, a little bit of the texture, a little bit of the volume, which I needed. Well, I had ChatGPT output about 3 or 4 of these until I found the right one. And it took it like 4 minutes. And then I have the drawing skills that let me imply the tap that's right there. So I add that in and I add a little instruction with my hand lettering. And I curl the edge up so that you can see. That took me another 5 minutes using this tool right here. Okay, so all told, this process might have taken me 2 hours. And with this process, I did it in 20 minutes. The whole thing start to finish, and I got to where I would have gone anyway. So if I can use AI to get me through the heavy lifting parts, the speed matters. And I've been experimenting with some other things. So the one on the left, did you guys know that dinosaurs have feathers? It's the awesomest thing ever. And so, like, I don't sell works like this, but I have a lot of dinosaurs with feathers in here because I have to go to boring faculty meetings and I have to have something to do. And so I draw dinosaurs with feathers, right? Oh no. So that's me, and that's me spending hours on that, and it's an effort of love, right? Just for the funsies of the thing, trying it out. It's not even a dinosaur that exists in real life. I'm inventing the species too. And then I plug it into AI and I say, use this as your prompt. So a prompt is how you direct the output of what the AI is going to do. It says something like, in this style, in these colors, do this, make the perimeters a certain size and put the background as orange and use a high contrast kind of graffiti art and paint vibe to it. That's a prompt, right? And you'll either get good stuff or you'll get medium stuff or you'll get average of the internet Reddit stuff. But I've been practicing like using my input to go directly into it. Now, I still think I'm a little bit relieved to find out that Dolly's response isn't as good as mine, but it's still pretty dang good. You know, it got me a long ways towards that. So this is my practice for me as an artist. I have a show downtown right now, right? This is the first show where I used AI to get me past the early components of a lot of the paintings. Now, like I said, I can draw like crazy. So the intro stuff, the beginning stuff that I build, I got to draw a long preliminary to get to this painting on the end. So right here, what I'd normally do is I'd draw a lot of trees, a lot of thumbnails, then I'd workshop them up, make them better, make them longer, make them more complex. Then when I found one that worked all right, then I expanded into a color mock-up, and then I go towards that last one. That last one's a big painting, right? I can charge around $3,000 or $4,000 for it. But the time I put into it matters. I get students asking all the time, how do I price out my work? You know, somebody wants to buy my painting. How much should I ask for? And what I usually say is, you're a fool if you're not watching your hours. Watch your hours, count them, add in the supplies, decide on an hourly wage. That's a good way to do it, right? So it might take me 30 or 40 hours to get to that stage right there, and then maybe another 30 hours for the painting itself, 20 maybe if I'm doing really well. And the problem too is in this process where you draw all the stuff, man, there are dead ends. Sometimes you got to redo the last 15 hours to get there, to get a good composition, to make it work. Here's how I did it. I had a memory. I'm doing a series about kind of like the destruction, like fire and thunder and scary stuff that happens, and then the regrowth afterwards, the plants that grow back, kind of the time of beauty after the pulling down of the forest. Remember, I was on sabbatical in Idaho, and that part of the world burns just like California. So those fires come through, and then you get to watch the regrowth. So, but I was running, I'm a trail runner, and I was running along, and I saw this stump, and I saw some weather in the background, and I don't think I actually saw that, but I imagined fire on the horizon. And so what I did is I had AI give me, gave it a really good prompt, gave it 3 or 4 prompts, and had it give me about 50 versions of this in black and white. Probably could have done it in color, but AI is not so great at color, and I wanted to start with the dark. So I did about 50. So here's 3 of them. And then I chose the best 10 of those and had it give me versions of those 10. So that sounds like a lot of work. And it sure is, until I got to the one that I actually stuck in my iPad and altered extensively to get it in the plus. I got about 80%, 90% of the way there and matched my memory through that process. And this is my preliminary drawing that I did here. And that saved me, instead of it taking me 40 hours, it took me about 3. Oh, we can do some math. I know that there's some accountants among you, right? Like, what if I get $3,000 for that painting? And I put, let's just round it out, $50. How much money did I earn per hour? You guys got to be good at the math, right? What if I only put 20 hours into this? What's my wage? Because I became an artist to express stuff, right? To be beautiful and make good things in the world. And no, that's a bunch of crap. I did it to pay my mortgage. Artists need to get paid, right? Just like anybody else. I'm lucky in that I get to do those things, but I also got 4 freaking kids and they need to go to college. And I got a truck and I like nice trucks. You know, all the things that everybody else likes to do. And so the money matters. And if I can get to the place where I would have gotten already at speed, and I do mean this is speed, then it's worth it. So then I had to do a color mock-up. I went through the same thing. I did about 10 different color schemes on top of my artwork using AI, which I would have done it, would have taken me another 10 hours, but this took me about 10 minutes. And then I actually go to a big piece of acrylic with a brush and paint in real life. And that's my underpainting. It's not the finished thing. So AI and education. This is the other part of my life. I'm an educator, right? And so how can you use this in the classroom? Software, text images. The problem is that AI is not a truth teller. That's where a lot of people think they go to it for answers and they don't realize that about 1 in 10 is an answer from Reddit and it's a lie, you know? Or it's just made up from whole hog because it just wants to please. Are we running out? Okay. So students don't understand that and they trust it too much. Using AI as a tool, you've got to learn creativity. Unfortunately, there's no shortcut for that. Fortunately for me, did I tell you that I wasn't a very creative kid? I really wasn't. Creativity is a practice skill like anything else. It really totally is. If you do enough of it, you will get better at being creative generally. It's one of the good things about AI. AI changes the way that we work, but it doesn't replace us. It's going to replace the people who don't use AI. The people who use AI will replace people who don't. That's the way that it's going to go. And it's the way that the economy has always worked. So in the art classroom, this required refinement. This was my final image. This is what I started with. It's a little generic, right? Now, I lost some things along the way. These are better stilts than those right there, but I was able to refine it in that process, and that's really hugely interesting. We mentioned Sophia, daughter. This is the course that I took, and some of the things that I learned is this. I had to vastly expand the assignments. I had to learn how to teach so much bigger. The assignments that I started out with, I thought was worth a week or two. They were finished in hours. And I had to do the equivalent of an entire senior project of a 4-year student. And we got that done in a week. So assignment examples, this is one of them. It's build a 5-minute, 12-player game that can be done by all of us in a circle on the table. And it has to include rules, a board, pieces, everything. We finished that in a week. And it was after I learned the kind of crazy speed that you could go at. It makes your head spin. And this is Dr. Sponsler's. She had an assignment where you're talking about a political cartoon that's beyond the reach of almost everybody. And they were able to grasp that very quickly. Clear constraints spark creativity. Creativity can be practiced and you'll get good quality outputs. So here's what I want to leave you with. AR is here to stay. Creativity, it turns out, is going to be one of the safest skills. Because at first, I don't know if you noticed, but all the AI was out there and it was intimidating good. But it was like this shirt that I'm wearing right here. I know you've all been looking at my shirt. Right? Such a good shirt, right? Messing it up by putting the, here, I'll show you the shirt. That's a great shirt. Very nice and blue. It's got secret pockets. In that pocket right there's my fedora. You know, it's a very excellent shirt, and I'm sure that you all want it, but if we all bought it tomorrow and we're all wearing the most excellent shirt on the planet tomorrow, the next day it's boring. And that's what happened to AI. It's called AI slop, and it's everywhere now. And it requires creativity to make it better. It's going to be commodifiable. I think the creatives are going to be some of the most important people because that's who you're going to want to hire in your company. I built a degree, the digital art and AI degree, basically because I saw that it was coming. There's only about 5 of these in the world. I just got interviewed by a reporter from the New York Observer. The article will be out soon, and he said there were only 5 of these kind of programs anywhere, and it's built upon teaching people creative tools that they can immediately put into their workplaces. It has. So there's reasons to be optimistic. AlphaFold, if you've ever.
You do.
Yeah.
That is.
I'm sorry, I wish that I was a little faster, but there's a link too on where to go if you want to learn. My best advice is go choose Ethan Mollick, read his book. It talks about using AI as a collaborator, and that works really well. Thanks.
And I'm serious about having to come back and do the second part. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Just gonna take a picture.
And I do use the AI with the article.
Yeah.
I have to give a program on it.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, that we'd like to do a children's book that would be donated to the Children's Library at Children's Aid Society or the YW. Give us a few minutes after so that you can pick up your book. All right.
Oh, thanks.
I think we're adjourned. See you next week.
Thank you.
Sure.